Hi everyone, welcome to the show. Today, I'm going to answer one of your questions. We love when you guys send us questions, and one of the things that you guys have asked to hear about is Alexie's food sensitivities and what that entails, how we got that diagnosis, and what that means for us. So, if you want to stick with us, I'm going to tell you the whole story. From the very beginning, because that's where the best stories start from, Alexie started showing signs of eczema when she was about 4 or 5 weeks old. We were at a wedding actually, and we thought it was heat rash, except for it never went away. So Stefan has eczema, I have allergies. Eczema, allergies, and asthma all kind of fall under the same kind of thing. So we weren't super surprised that Alexie had eczema, but we did want to try to get it under control. It progressively kind of got worse as she got older. It kept spreading. So if you don't know, eczema is a skin condition. It's usually super dry skin. It's like excessively dry, scaly skin that's very, very itchy. It also, the skin develops like little water blisters that burst, and then you have like open, fresh skin, and it oozes, it burns, it's itchy. It's very uncomfortable. One of the concerns with eczema is infection because you have open skin. So we definitely wanted to try to get it under control. It's very itchy. And especially for Alexie, where she tends to get it, it's very visible and it's really not attractive. I know that sounds super vain, but it's the truth. Alexie would get it kind of in all of her little nooks and crooks, as we call them. She'd get them in the inside of her elbows, under her knees. She would get it on her wrists, and she would get it especially on her face, so around her eyes and around her mouth. And when it was really bad, she'd get it over her cheeks and all over her neck. So we decided to talk to our doctor, because that's what you do. And our doctor, and any doctor that we ever brought it up with, even like at a walk-in clinic or anything, no one was really concerned about it. They just kind of told us, it's childhood eczema, she'll outgrow it. Don't worry about it. By the time she's like between 5 and 8, it should be gone. But they did prescribe us some steroid cream. One for her face, it's a little bit milder, and the one for her body. And they really wanted us to kind of limit how much we use it, but we had it for when her skin was really raw and open and sore, to help it kind of shut down the reaction that her skin was having, essentially. Like, it was just to help it not be itchy, A, and then B, let it heal. So we got that, and we were told, this is a pretty big prescription, the amount you're getting, plus you have a refill. That should probably last you until she's done having eczema. So a couple of years at least. We went through it in less than 8 months, our first refill. Part of it was that if we did not put it on Alexie, she would flare up the next day. So if we ever skipped a day, she was just raw skin, pussing and oozing and itching. So we started looking for some different answers. This past Christmas in 2018, Alexie's skin just like took a whole nother turn. It was so bad. Basically, she was eczema from head to toe, like very mild. So her whole skin, all over her body, was the light, flaky, kind of really, really, really dry skin. Think like the worst dry skin you've ever had. Like, that was her whole body. And then her patches were super red and inflamed. They were oozing. And her neck took on something that we've never seen it before. Her neck basically looked like it had been sunburned, but it hadn't. We actually thought it was sunburn, but it was eczema, and it looked like it had been sunburnt, started to heal, so it was like flaking, and then it was burnt again. And even with the steroid cream, we weren't getting it under control. We were lathering her in every cream, concoction, oil, remedy we could purchase, and it just wasn't working. So that's when we decided to talk to someone else and try to get something else figured out for her. In January, we took her to see a naturopath in hopes of getting her some acupuncture. The reason we went in originally for acupuncture is because acupuncture has been really good for Stefan for his eczema. So he gets acupuncture, and after a couple of sessions, his is gone for months and months on end. So we thought, well, we'll try acupuncture and see if it works. And if we go to a naturopath, it tends to be covered under our health insurance. So that was our first try. So we went to the naturopath, we talked to her, and after a consult, she said, you know, really in kids her age, if you're having this bad eczema, it's probably food-based. We've heard this before, but people kind of disagree on how much food impacts eczema. It's not really well known. So we decided we try it though. So her suggestion for us and for Alexie was to originally do 6 weeks, gluten-free, dairy-free, nut-free. Those 3, she said, tend to be pretty big causes of eczema. And if you can kind of get those out of her system, maybe she'll just clear up. They tend to be bigger contributors to eczema. So we tried it. After about 5.5 weeks, we hadn't seen any improvement, like 0, like nothing. She was just as bad. So we're like, it must not be food sensitivities. We were praying, we were hoping it wasn't. But the fact that she hadn't gotten better either was really kind of disheartening for us. We really were hoping Alexie would be better. That's when our naturopath suggested we get her an IgG test. So I'm going to pause for a second in the story and explain the difference between what an IgG test is and how it differs from an IgE test. So when you eat stuff, your body has kind of 3 reactions. It has either no reaction, it has an IgE reaction, and that is like an allergic reaction. So that's the kind of thing where you eat it within a couple of hours, you're having a hard time breathing, your hives, you're swelling, allergic reaction. Then you have what they call an IgG. IgG reactions are similar, but it's a different antibody that gets released. They are much slower acting though, so that's the big one. And they tend to produce much milder symptoms that last longer. So they tend to produce things like stomach upsets for days, on end, digestive problems. Sometimes you have mood swings, and eczema. And the thing about IgGs is that they stay in your system for a very long time, where if you have an allergic reaction, your body tends to flush those out fairly quickly. IgGs stick in your body and stay in your body for a long time. So even if you haven't eaten something, you can still have a reaction to it 36 hours later, a week later, sometimes up to 3 to 6 months later, just because those antibodies tend to stick inside your system. So we took Alexie for her very first blood test. She was really excited at first, except for when she actually got it, and then she realized how terrible blood work is. And then I was a terrible mother because I told her I was going to take her to get McDonald's French fries, and it was too early, and McDonald's doesn't make French fries till 11, and it was definitely not 11. We sent the blood work away. We waited a week, and her results came in, and I was given the test. And basically when you get the test results, it's color coded, which is really nice. Green items are foods that they've tested her blood for and she has no reaction. Yellow are items that she has tested for and has like a mild reaction. So it's probably things that she should limit from her diet. And then red are things that like her body freaked out about. Alexie's list of red and yellow things took up almost an entire page. And I almost cried because it was like my worst nightmare. Because my first thought was, what am I going to feed this kid? Alexie has 67 individual food sensitivities on her page. So no dairy, no eggs, no potatoes, no oats, no rice, no beans or legumes of any kind, no tree nuts or nuts, pretty much no grains with the exception of like quinoa, no oranges, no pomegranates, squash, no mushrooms, no eggplants, no soy, that was a big one, no corn, no ginger, no mustard, no celery, and kind of like half and half on the fish. Some fish she can have, some she can't. So she can't have any salmon, but like bass is okay. I don't know. So once you kind of look at her whole list, it's very overwhelming for us. It was super overwhelming. Like I said, I almost cried, and it caused me like extreme anxiety and stress for like 2 or 3 solid weeks because I could not imagine what I was going to feed her. Like, what do you feed a kid for breakfast when they can't have any grains, no eggs, and no dairy? It's a tough battle. Let me tell you, it is not easy. Where does this leave us? Now, the nice thing about IgG reactions is you can grow out them just like you can allergies. And sometimes, because the antibodies stay in your system for so long, she could actually be showing up positive for things that she's not actually sensitive to. It's just her body's so inflamed and so kind of freaking out all the time. So what we've been advised to do, and what is typically advised in this kind of situation, is to eliminate everything on her red list, her no-go list, completely for anywhere from 6 to 12 months. So we're kind of looking at 8 to 12 months because her sensitivity list is so long and so extensive. So she can't have anything on her list for a long time. And then the hope is we can start introducing things that kind of are at the bottom of her list because they have the lowest negative sensitivity, and slowly work our way up and see what things she's actually sensitive to and which ones she's not. So there's hope for us, but in the meantime, life has been really interesting. Life has been very interesting. It's definitely a challenge. Feeding a almost 4-year-old a balanced, variety-filled diet when they can't have 67 things is very difficult, especially when those 67 things are the things you use to make everything. So we've had some challenges. Our first challenge that I think we were not expecting was because Alexie is so limited in her protein options. So really the only protein she can have are meat. Like there's no legumes, there's no nuts, there's no dairy, so all these kind of other, especially the portable protein options, she can't have. So we were finding was we were having a lot of sugar spikes because she would eat like fruit for a snack and fruit for breakfast, and then her sugar would go down, and then we feed her more fruit, and then her sugar would go down, and we feed her more fruit, and her sugar would go down. We feed her more like sweet potatoes and carrots, and her sugar would go down. And so we were finding balancing her sugar levels with like enough proteins, enough fats, quite challenging, especially the first kind of like 2 weeks. Oh, and by the way, we decided that we were gonna try this elimination diet and like start this the same time that we were on vacation. I don't recommend that because that was crazy. Taking a child to like museums and science centers in a different city when you don't know what to feed them, not advisable. But, learn from our mistakes. So that was definitely, balancing her sugars, making sure she has enough protein and finding options that work for us. That was definitely a challenge. Breakfast was a challenge. And I can tell you 2 months in, it's still a little bit of a challenge. We have found some options that we work with. It's all homemade. It's all from scratch, and it's very creative. So it's me adding a lot of like random things to make things better. So for example, I make banana muffins. I make them dairy-free, egg-free, flour-free with the cassava flour instead of regular flour. And then I load them up with like hemp hearts and chia seeds and protein powder. And then I get her, that's what she has for breakfast. So that's what we do. Kind of do the same thing with waffles. So everything has to be made from scratch. Other things that we've had a hard time with. Eating out, our options are definitely limited. But we have found some, like for example, she can still have her favorite lemonade at Starbucks. We still go to Pita Pit and she can have kind of the salad stuff there, which is great. So, we find our wins and we take them where we can get them. The other thing that we find is this diet is very expensive because we end up buying very strange flours, different protein powders. We end up buying a lot of fruits and vegetables. I used to be really good. I could kind of like, in a week, this is how much fruits and vegetables and meat we would eat. I'm still not quite figured that out yet because the amount that we eat is just, it seems so much. But really we eat it all. Like our fridge is empty by the end of the week, which is a good thing, but just we end up going to the store a lot more. The other thing I find hard is everything is from scratch. Like I would say 95% of Alexie's diet is stuff that we have made from scratch. Everything from her muffins in the morning to the spice blend that goes on our chicken to our baking powder, like baking powder, because baking powder has cornstarch in it or potato starch, and she can't have either one of those. So everything has to be made from scratch, and that's really tiring, especially for me who does most of the cooking. Our biggest wins are the biggest pros to this whole diet. Alexie's skin is cleared up. And I don't just mean like it's gotten better, like within 10 days, her skin was 75% better within 10 days. That's with us on holidays. That's with us traveling. That was with us still figuring out what to do with her. Her skin improved drastically in 10 days. At this point, she still does get a little bit of a flare up. She has a little patch under her knee right now, but that's it. Like there's nothing, she doesn't have, there's none on her face. There's none on her neck. Her arms are like, I think they're completely clear right now. So she does get some flare-ups. That could be because she's still in the like detox kind of step where the antibodies are still in her system, and they can be for a couple more months. The other thing is during this whole process, we did figure out that she does have a stress trigger for her. So if she doesn't sleep enough, she tends to flare up, and it tends to make them itchier. So then she scratches at it, and then we get open skin. So if she has like a weird night or something, she does tend to flare up. But A, we know that, and B, her skin is still improving. So that has been a huge win for us. We've also probably been eating better because we're cutting back on all the things we can't have or shouldn't be eating. You know, there's a lot less potato chips in our house, stuff like that, because how do you eat it when your kid can't have it? That's it. That's Alexie's story up to this point. We're excited to see how her skin improves, and hopefully in the next couple of months, probably just before Christmas, we can start introducing a few more things. I'm really looking forward to trying to introduce things like ginger. I know that sounds really silly, but ginger I just think will be it opens up so many more doors for us. We can do more different loaves, we can do more different muffins and cookies, even different sauces. Like we can't do teriyaki, anything kind of Asian inspired, because they often have ginger in them. That's a big one that we're excited for. Like I said, this is her story. This is our journey into food sensitivities. If you guys have any questions or any comments, leave them below. We will get back to you. And like I said, this video was inspired by a question you guys asked. So if you have any questions about homeschooling, our lives, food sensitivities, anything like that, leave us a comment below and we will certainly get back to you.
If you like what you saw, please subscribe to our channel and click on the bell to get notifications when we upload our latest videos.
Give us a thumbs up and don't forget to leave us a comment. We'll see you next week for more activities, adventures, and lifelong learning.
Bye!